All right, if you recorded with your phone or potentially another camera, you might have recorded in HLG or HDR. Essentially, what you need to know about those two is that they record your footage with a greater range of brightness and color. And additionally, you need to know how to use that in Premiere. So this is a quick way to kind of just see if you did record with those and then how to edit it and how to export it. So what I'm going to do really quick as possible is look on my project panel. And I've got two clips, and I want to point out a couple things. One, the frame rate. One is what you will probably typically see if you use a DSLR type camera, which is 23.99. I have seen true 24 frames per second on a lot of phones. So whichever one you seem to have more of, that's what I would use to create the sequence in a moment. The other thing I want to point out is, again, it's good to look at what your resolution is. So 3840 and 2160 is 4K. 1920 by 1080 would be your standard HD. So we will create one with 4K just so that everything looks the way it was shot. All right, so now, was one of these HDR or HLG? Here's how you can tell. And if you use the same camera and you don't change any settings, then you pretty much know all of your shots will be like this. But let's look, I'm gonna look at this one first. So I'm gonna right click and I'm gonna go to properties. And right here, color space, Rec 709. This clip right here, so that first one is not HDR, HLG. Let's look at the second one, right click, properties. This one, color space, is 2100 HLG. This one is, and this is one that we will have to make sure that we do properly. So let's create a proper sequence for that HLG clip. I'm gonna go to File, New Sequence. Skip over to Setting. Some of these are what I've already showed you to do. So I'd go with Custom. Frame rate is, again, traditionally 23976, but looking at my shot for this, I'm gonna go with the true 24 frames per second. Again, this clip happens to be 4K, so I'm gonna put in 3840 by 2160. Square, no fields, all that stuff is good. Here is what needs to be changed. So more than likely, if you're using some of the DSLR cameras, there's a good chance it's probably Rec 709 and you won't touch this. But again, some phones, some cameras, they do record in a different color space. So we're gonna change it to match 2100 HLG. And I'll just name this HLG sequence. Cool. All right, and so what you would do is essentially just grab that clip now, bring it over here, and it should look fairly accurate. Looking at it on here, and then if I compare it to the actual clip, you know, it's pretty similar. Let me go a little bit further. You know, the original clip is still probably a little bit brighter, but you know, it's not too far off at the moment. Let's find out how it exports. So let's go ahead and do this. So I'm gonna go ahead and click in my timeline. I'm gonna go to File, Export Media. Let's HLG sequence, fine. Again, always do a file name that makes sense. Always put it in a place you know where it's going. Mine's going to the desktop. And if you were not using the HLG HDR, then you could just leave this H.264, but this is causing an issue for those that do have that on their clips. I'm gonna change this to QuickTime. I'm gonna go to Video, drop down menu, go to More, and one more time, Export Color Space. We have to switch that one more time, 2100 HLG. Let me go ahead and export that. Cool, so let me open again. Here is the original from my phone clip, and then here is the exported clip from let's see, what did we call it? There it is. And of course, I must have had a whole bunch of other garbage on that timeline, so now I have to find that part of the clip. There it is. All right, So let's kind of compare the two. So this is what was exported. Look at the color, look at the brightness. Here is the original clip, color, brightness. They are quite a bit similar. All right, let me close that and let me show you what would happen if you did not do this the way I had suggested. Okay, I'm gonna go into, I'm not gonna change anything. I'm gonna go to export. I'm gonna go to media. This time I'm going to change it back to H.264. Not Blu-ray, just regular. Okay. And then again, I wouldn't typically change anything if this was not HDR or HLG. So I'm going to hit export. This one's going to be HLG sequence _1. Okay. All right, again, original clip. Let's find that other version, the new version, which should have, this one should definitely have some issues. Look at right there, the chair's already just looking like hot garbage. It almost blends into the background because that's looking like hot garbage. Everything in this image looks terrible compared to the original and compared to the version that I first used when exporting. Okay. So what you need to do is first right click your video clips, see if they are even HLG or HDR. If they are, then when you make your sequence file, new sequence, then you have to make sure that you do the extra step and change this to the same. And then when you export it, unlike other versions, again, still go to media, but change H.264 to QuickTime. And then again, make sure that you use the drop down menu for video and you go to export color space and change that to HLG. And that should take care of it. If you have any questions, let me know. All right, here's a quick little addendum that I forgot to mention. Let's say you have a sequence that you already made using what I had told you to use, 23976, 1920 by 1080, kind of everything. You know, I said probably don't change this and all that good jazz. So I'm just gonna label this one as 709 for rec 709. So let's say we made that, and then we took the clip that is HLG. Let me keep the settings. And let's say we already, I'm just gonna put a bunch of clips on here, and we already edited this. And you don't want to start over, which of course, why would you want to start over? Really quick, super easy. All you have to do is go to File, go to New, go to Sequence, go to Settings, make it the proper settings, which for my case is what I am typing right now. 3840. 2160. Again, I do want to change this to HLG. I'll just call this new HLG. So I made a new one with the proper settings. I've got one with the improper settings, and now I've got one. This one has the the improper settings, but it's edited. You don't need to start over. Do Command A, Command C, and then go into the new sequence and do Command V, and you just paste all your clips over. That should pretty much take care of everything, though it is still a good idea to kind of just go through and make sure that there's no issues that are happening. But that is super quick. You don't have to start over. You just have to make a new sequence and copy and paste from the first one that you already made. Pretty simple.